Okay, so you had told us that you had received PPP, EIDL, and a bunch of other potential funding or forms of funding. As a business owner, a lot of those things at some point, and even still today, had a lot of unknowns associated with them. Whether or not something was going to be able to be forgiven, and a plethora of other different things. How did you make decisions with such unknowns where in the past you would have had a very strict and procedure to follow, where when you took that money, my guess is you didn't know what really you were getting into? And so how did you make decisions with so many unknowns?
Um, you know, I've got a lot of, I belong to a couple of different business groups, and I've got great people like you two, who I certainly trust, and admire for what you guys have accomplished in business and personally. So because of that, I'm comfortable in the counsel I receive with regards to things along those lines. And there was no shortage of terror. There was no shortage of anxiety. And because, my crystal ball is broken, right? I didn't know what was going to happen in 90 days or 6 months. I didn't know if, I didn't know if I was going to be generating enough revenue or the same revenue or less or more. So all of those unknowns suggested that you need to make a decision. And as a business owner, and again, the way I look at my business, it is employee first, then customer, then company. I figure if I take care of my employees, they're going to take care of my customers, and my customers will take care of my company, right? They're going to help me grow because of word of mouth and because they're satisfied. So when I looked at my primary responsibility, which was my employees, I said, well, PPP is really a no brainer, right? So I don't know if I'm gonna have to pay it back. It looks like they're saying that if it's under 150 grand, that they're going to forgive it, which would be fantastic. But at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do, whether I need it or not. It's the right thing to do. And if I don't need it, then and they need it back, then I'll just give them the money back. So because of that, and looking at it through the lens of an employee versus a business owner, um, I would hope that if I was an employee of a small or a large company, my owner, manager, senior staff would pull the right strings to make sure that I've got food on the table, right? Um, so we applied for it, and again through the organizations that we are all a part of and contribute to. We were getting emails every day. Hey, you can get the grant from this. You can get a grant from that. You can apply for this. You can apply for that. So, all right, it's a grant. I probably don't need to pay it back, right? So, yeah, let's put the pay. And again, I think and Tim, to your point, knowing your numbers and running a tight business and being a good leader and things like that, you have the information you need at your fingertips to essentially provide to these resources so that you can get the assistance you need. So I'm sitting on my desk and I've got a flash drive right here that's got all of my financials and all
I was
this.
wondering what you're pulling out there. That was going to be great. You're going to start throwing out bills or something.
Yeah.
Terrible
But
towels
it
rolling
was
around.
one of those things where I'm like, yeah, let's line it up and see what we get. And so when I heard a lot of stories, and I know we all know people who didn't get PPP money, didn't get EIDL money, didn't get other grants, and they struggled to get their books in order. They struggled to get the information they needed in order to request that stuff properly, because it wasn't like, you filled out a one-page application and hey, you're good to go. Here's 70, 80, $90,000, so we were in a position that we had everything, all of our ducks were in a row. We could, pretty much, put that on e-file it, and we're done. So because it was, if you do it once, you're going to use most of the same stuff again and again and again and again. So that was kind of our mentality. And then same thing with the EIDL money, right? It was, do I ask for it? And at the end of the day, so why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? If they give it to me, that's great. If I need it, that's even better. If I don't need it, I'll just give it back. I've got 30 years to pay it back at 3% or whatever the rate was.
And nothing on the first year or something like that. Yeah.
Right. So why wouldn't I do it? So again, it's you have to look at your business and try and determine how it's going to be impacted. We had 2 months of negative, cash flow. And then the floodgates opened, and we've essentially doubled in size, bought additional territory, and we're hiring vigorously.
Well, I think someone once told me kind of the same thing you're saying is put yourself around good people that'll give you good advice. Is they're like, get access to money when you don't need it. And I was like, oh, because when you need it, you're not gonna be able to get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Makes sense. So like if you're in a position, if someone's listening and you're in a position where you can get money, get access to that. You don't have to touch it, because if something were to happen, you won't be able to get it.
Yep. And that's exactly the mentality that we use, is that, when times are good,
no one anticipates bad happening either. Right. The only thing I think that you could anticipate coming from a quote unquote bad perspective is knowing that come October 1st, your Airbnb side of the business is going to go away.
Yep.
But that's because it's a seasonal business. That it's going to pick back up, right? No one anticipated 6, 7, however many months of COVID going through and seeing the transitions that have happened there.
Yep.
No. My oldest family member has never seen anything like this, or at least doesn't remember, right?
Yeah. It's unique times across the board.
Yeah.